Alright, so I'm gonna teach you everything that you need to know about Visualforce in the modern Salesforce development in 2024 or 2025. There's so much information about Visualforce, and I'm not gonna teach you every single thing of it. But by the end of this video, I hope that you will be able to go and just write your own Visualforce pages, be able to go and modify any other Visualforce pages that you can find in your on your job. You will be able to pass PD1 or understand the topics that will be about Visualforce on PD1 and PD2. That's gonna be a freestyle video, so I'm not gonna be scripting a lot of stuff. I'm just gonna pour knowledge into your brain, and I hope that some of this knowledge sticks. Feel free to listen to this video to like double speed, triple speed, whatever works for you. The most important that I expect you to already know HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. I'm not gonna be teaching these things. And I hope that you already know Apex, of course, so I'm not going to be teaching you these things either. And I'm also not going to be teaching you super advanced stuff of Visualforce, because I think if you need something advanced, you just need to figure it out case by case, right? So you need to go and solve your particular case and not try to find like a general Visualforce guide. This guide is the idea that you don't know anything about Visualforce, and then after watching this guide, you will be able to do Visualforce on the job if you need. We have actually 3 frameworks, right? Front-end frameworks that we are using in Salesforce development: Visualforce, Aura, and LWC. Visualforce, it is used usually when you have some kind of legacy code, right? So unless you are absolutely forced to write it, that you already have a system that was written in Visualforce. If you're writing, for example, a new component for your org, there's literally no point in writing Visualforce. Like, really. just go with LWC. If you can do something with LWC or Aura, then you should absolutely go for it. But there are some use cases where you can't. For example, you cannot natively generate PDFs in the very easy way with LWC or Aura. Now, you can generate PDFs with LWC, but it's going to be a little bit more workarounds, and it's not as convenient as doing it with Visualforce. That's one of the use cases. Like, for example, another use case is generating Word document. That would be also something that Visualforce would be actually quite nice in doing. But in general, if you have like a new component to develop, never think about Visualforce. Always go for LWC first. Before we actually go into the Visualforce, I want to show you the data model behind the project that we're going to be doing. And this is the data model that I'm usually using. It's super simple. So you have here training__c, right? This is the main object. Training, it has completion date, it has a start date, it has an end date, and that basically means like something like a course. And then we have a contact, which is a standard object, and then we have a participant, which is a junction object between the training and the contact, right? So a contact can participate in many courses. And then there's also a training course, which is kind of like a program behind the course. So for example, you might have something like, let's go here to the training, trainings, Visualforce-Master, right? So you might have this type of course. And I have some pre-made stuff. So if you've been following the previous lessons that I have in the community, and you're probably already familiar with all of that. Let's create the first Visualforce finally. And I'm gonna be using Cursor for programming. This is basically VS Code. So feel free to use whatever works for you. You can also use Developer Console for that, but what I suggest for a lot of people, as soon as you switch into something like Visualforce, something more advanced than just the absolute basics, you should kind of get familiar with VS Code. So here we go, we're going to be using VS Code. And you see that when we start, this is a fresh new project here. We don't have here the pages, right? So pages, this is where all the Visualforce is written. Unlike LWC, where in LWC I have a folder that is actually called LWC, here we have pages. Don't ask me why. And then when we click here, we can click on the Create Visualforce page. And let's see how I'm gonna call it. I can just call it something like with Visualforce practice demo, something like this. Right, so there's gonna be some stuff here, and the only thing that I'm gonna write there would be something like hello world. This is my first Visualforce page. All right, And then, of course, what we do, we deploy it. And once we deploy it, let's switch here and let's see how we can put this one on a page, right? So first of all, to access Visualforce that you create, you can just go take this name here, and you can go here and write Apex practice demo. Hello world, this is my first Visualforce page, right? So you can see that it is a little bit easier. It is kind of like embedded into the Salesforce, and this is the first feature of Visualforce that we kind of need to take in our mind, is that the Visualforce was developed like back in 2005, or maybe something like this. I don't really know the exact date, but my point is that Visualforce is highly embedded into Apex. And when you create here, you can see, first of all, you can see the XML. We don't really care about XML right now. And you can see here the page itself, right? So it's called page, not even like Visualforce or something. And here you can see those tags, right? And you can see that they have here prefix, is it prefix or is it suffix? It's a prefix, which is called Apex and then 2 dots. Well, that kind of shows how highly embedded into Apex those things are. And this is something about Visualforce that you need to know, is that everything is built with tags, right? So it's very similar to how we do it in HTML or in LWC everywhere. So here we are basically doing everything with tags. Now, there are tons of tags, right? So if we go here and Google Visualforce Salesforce tags, right? So it starts here with a page. This is the most basic one. You can see there's a lot of them, right? And a lot of them, they mean different things. Some of them, they just basically there to create other components, like for example, input fields, right? Some of them there so that you can actually click on them. So it's a little bit different from LWC. Because in LWC we have like things like standard components, for example, and those they are not really standard components. Because the concept of like components here when the Visualforce was developed, it was still not really that mature, so it's kind of not really the component itself, but you can also think about it as a component, right? So at the end, what we have here, this Apex page, right? Let's go here to the page, and I'm gonna click here on inspect to see what are the things here. And you can see that the code that we have here is different from the code that we write. And that's the reason for that is because the Visualforce that you write is not directly the stuff that is ending up in the page. Because Salesforce does like own things, own magic, and it kind of re-renders for you stuff. So if you have here Apex page, this is not something that your browser can understand. This is only something that Salesforce can understand, and then take this page and transform it into the HTML stuff. Like for example, head, right? You see here there are some scripts even, head and body. So it's important to keep in mind that we are actually using like a framework, that's how you would usually call Visualforce framework. So one of the tags, or one of the first tags and the most basic tags that we can do is output text. And if you'll see me watching here, I'm looking at my notes. So what we have here is Apex, and then we have output text, right? So instead of writing this whole thing, we can also do the output text. Is it useful? I don't know, not that much, but it shows you that you basically can use tags like you used to, right? So nothing new. Now, the only new thing about this is that, first of all, let's find this output text. It would be Apex output text, and that should be this one, right? So in the documentation, actually for Visualforce, and this is, I think, this is rare, but for the Visualforce, I kind of like the documentation. I find it way more, I mean, probably they just had more time, so there's way more information about it than about LWC, where some stuff is not even documented. So here you can see that there are attributes, right? So for the attributes, those things, now here we can only put actually what we are told that we are allowed to put there. Like for example, style or style class, title, value, and all of that. So you cannot put more. You only can put this, right? Right? If we refresh it, obviously we're gonna see the same thing because it's the same text, right? Another thing that we can do here is that we can make this output text, let me close it, with parameters, right? So apex param, right? And then we can do something like this. I'm just gonna show you from my notes what can we do. Something like yeah, so this is, and then we put there 0, my first, and then we put there 1, and then there we put VF and then page, like this, right? So this gonna go, so this parameter is gonna be here, right? So like it's just not a point what I want to make. It doesn't matter. We're not gonna try to build here something now with this stuff. The point is, what I'm trying to show you is that it is just your usual. See, this is VF first page. Nice. So we've made a mistake here a little bit. But basically, the point is that you can use here tags as you used to, right? So we have one tag, we have another tag, and all of this. Now, the actually thing that I want to build as a first example for the tags is that this one. So I have here, let's take the org, and let's go here to the org. I have here feedbacks. What is a feedback? Feedback basically is just when a participant to the training gives you feedback to some how it went. Quite an easy one. The name of the feedback is auto number, training is a lookup, participant is a lookup, rating is just a number, and comment is just a text. Super easy. So what do we want to do? We want to build a feedback form. We want to place it here, and we want to be able to submit here feedbacks. Right, so to build a feedback, we need to first learn a thing that is very specific for Visualforce, and it's called controller. There are 3 different types of controls. There are standard controllers, there are extensions, and then there are custom controllers. We're gonna start with the standard controllers, obviously, because they are the easiest one. And the way it works is that you just write here standard controller, and then here you write what object do you want to put here. So it would be like feedback __ C, right? And usually, in most cases, you would use a controller when you have one object, one record that you want to edit, or when you want to create a new one. Like basically, you know, like this form for creating and submitting new records. This is where you're gonna use it in most cases. You can use it for whatever you want, right? I'm gonna show you how exactly it works, but this is the most use case. So what we can do here is usually we need to create there a new Apex form, right? So it's gonna be like this Apex form, and then here in the Apex form we have a little bit of things that have to go there inside. So we have the page block section. Actually, we didn't need. Do we need page block? I am not really sure, but let's add it. So we have page block, then we have page block section, and what we're gonna do there is that here as a value, we're gonna put feedback dot, and then we're gonna just put the fields that we want to have, right? So for example, we have here training, right? So we're gonna say feedback training __ C, like this. Then the next output field, and actually, so we don't need location, and instead of instructor, we don't have instructor there, so it's gonna be training, and participant. It's gonna be participant, right? Participant, rating, and comment. And instead of output field, right? So let's first let's do output field to just make a point, basically. So see, we did not really specify anything super huge here. The only thing that we specified here is that we're gonna be using the feedback object, right? Then we have page sections. You can look. This setup here. It is a required setup for the hierarchy, right? So you cannot take this thing and place it somewhere else, like this. If you go to the documentation, you're gonna see that this has to be a child of the Apex form, and the same goes for those two. So you have to put them together, and it's pretty standard how you write them. Yeah, so we have here training, participant, rating, and comment, right? And now it's just output field. So let's deploy it. And I'm gonna go here, and you're gonna see training, rating, participant, comment. Now the thing is, they're empty, right? Because what kind of feedback is it, right? We don't know, because I have here two feedbacks in my system. So Apex Visualforce doesn't really know what kind of feedback to display here. So what we need to do is we need to actually pass the ID there manually as a URL. Right, so let me go here to the second one. Like this. All right, now you see that it displays what we have, right? You see it displays it as a participant ID, which is the way it is stored on the feedback. If we want a relationship, we can actually, without any, and see, we did not even write any Apex code or something. We just have here participant underscore r dot name, and then training r dot name. Right, so we can deploy it, and then we can refresh it. Not this one, this one. And we can see there participant name. I'm not really sure. Why is it still? Yeah, probably that's actually the participant name. Yeah, that's actually participant name, which is kind of a little bit strange. Let's call this participant part 1. Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. The point is that it shows it. All right, but what I actually want here is that I want to create a page which gonna have ability for me also to save and create new feedbacks, right? So here, instead of having output, I'm gonna have input. Input field should be right. Input field, and we have input fields. And now we can put here a name, because that's not a field. Now we have to put the actual relationships. Okay, so I'm gonna deploy. And here we go. We can modify those things, right? So I can write here 1, 2, 3, but I don't have a button here. And another thing that you see, we have these ugly Visualforce icons with the Visualforce search that we have to search for with the participants and all of that, right? So it's a little bit outdated, and you can see that it's outdated. I'm gonna show you how to deal with this outdated thing later, right? So we have those things here, right? Now we need the button. Button is super easy to do because there is a special thing for this. It's called command button. Now here we go into a little bit of voodoo thing. Because you see, I created here command button. It's easy. You can just Google all the time, like whatever you. Obviously, I know those tags because I've been working with them. If you're new, you don't know those tags, right? So what you need to do when you're new, you need to think about, okay, what do you want to do, and then like kind of distill down what tags you might need for that. In this case, it's quite obvious because we have a button. Now, why are we not using, like, for example, button, right? So if we have here a button, we can actually have something like this here. Visualforce supports those type of things. So we can use whatever we want from the HTML here in Visualforce, but we are not using it. We are using this command button. And we're using this command button because it has here an action save. And we never wrote any Apex stuff for it, right? But it's gonna already work. And the reason why it works is because this save thing, it's coming from the standard controller. So basically you can imagine it that Salesforce already have some actions for us, and save is one of the standard actions, and here the only thing that we need to do is just to call it. Right, so we can deploy it, and let's deploy it, and now we have the save button. And now I can change this 10 to 8, for example, and click save. And I'm gonna be even re-navigated here to the record, and you're gonna see it's 8, right? So it works, and it's very, very little of code. And this is why people actually liked Visualforce, because to do the same in LWC, you would need a little bit more code, and you might even need to use Apex, not really, because you have standard components, but it is pretty neat. Like it's very, very, very little of code, and it already does a lot of stuff that you want right here. Alright, so what happens if we delete this ID from here? Well, let's try. Let's see if we can create here a new one, new participant. Right, so we're gonna, and it creates a new feedback, right? Not participant. I said participant. No, it creates a new feedback, right? So this is a lot of functionality just out of box with that little of code that we have, and this is good, right? Of course, if you want to go beyond that, usually you would need to implement a lot of more stuff on your own. But out of the box, that just freaking works, and this is good. Another thing, you can see that we have here in 2 columns, right? Maybe we want to remove it. For that, we need to go and see how we can Apex page block section, right? So we need to go and see if we can somehow modify it, and yeah, we can. So here we have columns, right? So columns, and I want to put 1 column there, deploy, and here we go, it works, right? And then the command button, you can also put it here in the middle, for example. What I'm not gonna do in this tutorial, I'm not gonna style things a lot. It's not a CSS tutorial, right? Just we're gonna speak about styling a lot, but I'm not gonna be doing here some kind of design. Page is pretty much done from the coding perspective, but now we need to place this thing here, remember, right? So let's go here to the edit page, and if you search here for this component, which is called what's the name of this one? VF practice demo, right? So there's gonna be nothing. So what you need to do is to put Visualforce, okay? And here we go. We can add it, and that's not a training feedback. That's VF practice, and then we can specify here. Let's say 500. Does work? 500. Yeah, looks good. Wait, it should be VF practice demo. Actually, that's my old one. Yeah. Okay, so the reason why we cannot see this one, because clearly, look at this VF practice demo, right? So the one that you saw, that was the previous one that I used for just check out code. We need to find Visualforce here in the Visualforce pages, and then we need to go here, click on edit, and we need to enable it to be placed somewhere. Right, now if we reload it, let's reload it. Let's go Visualforce. Is it gonna be there? Yes, the demo is there. All right. Save it. Let's see. Yeah, look at this. Looks nice. And that displays automatically the record that we are viewing it. Right? You can see that that's pretty much the right training. So let's say I'm gonna adjust here the training, and it's gonna be Visualforce-Master. Right? See, it updates it immediately, and participant's gonna be, let's put some nice participant like P1, for example. Here we go. It refreshes. Right? Okay, an interesting thing about this, if you look at this, see, I have here my inspector, right? And here it gives a separate inspector inside. Why is that? And also, when you update it, you can see that it is getting updated somehow separately, right? There's a reason behind it. It is actually embedded there as a separate page. There is a thing that is like using it underline. Let's see if I can actually find it somewhere. So we need to go here, and then we need to go here, and at some point we're gonna hit iframe. And iframe, it is used in the general in the front-end development to embed one page into another page. So basically, what it does is that it embeds this as a separate page into our main page. And that has all sorts of implications, like, for example, you see that it refreshes in a different way. And of course, Salesforce made a good job integrating them together, but still, this is fundamentally what's different about Visualforce and LWC. If you place your LWC on the page, you're gonna place it as a separate component on the page, so it's gonna be part of your DOM, of your structure. Now with Visualforce, it's gonna be like embedded. It's gonna be a separate page, and that's exactly what's happening here. Why we can preview this as a separate page, because it is a separate page. So that's just a fun fact how it works. I promised you that I'm gonna show you how to style stuff here. There are 4 ways to style something here in Visualforce. The first one is the most obvious one, and before we can do that, so the most obvious one is just inline styling, right? We write style and then we write something crazy. Let's just write something like completely crazy, like background color. Let's make it pink. Let's make it also bigger, something like whatever the Copilot suggests. Border, and then let's take margin. Whatever, so that we see a difference basically between them, right? So this is inline styling. Nothing too bad about this. See, looks different. So you can style in this way, but what's important is that not in all cases you can use this style thing here. You need to go to the comment button, right? And you need to see if that's one of those things here, one of the attributes. If it is, you can use style. But for example, I think Apex form or something, you cannot really style that much. So this is one thing. Another one is that we can write here style, and we can put this here. I think it already did it, actually. I think it already did it. What's going on here? 1 second. So it's style class. No, it should be not a style class. It should be... let's see if that's gonna work, though. Let's see if that's gonna work. As I said, it's a little bit of a freestyle video, so let's see if that's gonna work. That doesn't work. It should be class, no? Isn't it? Failed? Why is it? Yeah, unsupported. See, this is kind of the problem, right? So, yeah, if class is not supported for command button, it means that the only way you can style it would be inline styling. That's Visualforce. Welcome, welcome basically to the first very strange things. All right, so this is, no matter where you write it here or you write it down, that's basically the same way of styling, right? All of them is just CSS that you write directly there. That's first 2 ways of styling. Another way of styling, and this is something that is actually the one that I use all the time. You can see that here the design of all of this stuff is pretty much like Salesforce Classic. We can change it by putting here lightning style sheets true, and deploy this, and you see, magically it now looks not like 2002, it looks like 2014, I guess, but it looks better, but it still has all the underlying Visualforce engine, right? So we did not do anything too crazy, we just changed the styling and Salesforce does it for us. And good things, also, if you are familiar with the SLDS, which I think you should be, you will be able to use this SLDS in here in a like limited way. So you cannot use everything there, but in a limited way, you absolutely can. Okay, so SLDS use in Visualforce page, and I think you can just use it as, yeah, you can just use it here as a classes like this, right? Again, okay, this is something else. This is the Apex SLDS. Okay, this is a little bit different. Right, so this is a little bit different. Okay, so a little bit more info to this one. This allows you to basically make automatically to transform your Visualforce into Lightning looking Visualforce, right? But this one that we googled, it allows you to use this SLDS in the body. That's how it works. All right. So yeah, those are so far, like, I guess 4 ways of styling, and then there is a fifth one. A fifth one is you can use a static resource as your CSS code, which is kind of not really what you want. Like, let's be honest, you don't want to upload a static resource in Visualforce and then reference it here for the styling. And the reason for that is because, yeah, well, while you're developing this thing, you will be always modifying, right? And then when, like, it's very hard to modify the static resource. What you usually would do is you would write the code here, and then maybe take this code and upload it as a static resource if you want to use it. But again, it's quite, I don't know, it's quite annoying, and then you have to carry all the time to things to deploy, and if something breaks, you have to go and re-upload and blah blah blah. So it's kind of like annoying. I would not advise you doing that at all. If you happen to work with Visualforce, just write everything in within the Visualforce. We touched so far only on standard components, right? For like this one, standard components. Yeah, the most important thing that you need to know about them is that you can access the data as we did here, right? So whenever you write this type of thing, you can even put it out here, right? So it's gonna work. And yeah, this is basically the most important thing that you need to know. Let me switch back and show you that it works. Where is it? Does it work? Wait. Practice demo. Oh yeah, of course. This one doesn't have any training. Of course it doesn't. But this one, yeah, you see, this is the training, right? That's what I placed here. So it does work. So this is literally the only one thing that you need to know about standard components. If you need something super simple, then you would use a standard controller. But in most cases, actually, you wouldn't, right? So in most cases, you wouldn't use a standard controller because the functionality that you want to usually is a little bit different. So now let me demonstrate you actually what's the problem with the standard component. So with the standard controller, you see, it doesn't make sense that we have here our component on the feedback record page, right? Because the idea behind this is that the feedback would be given by the students, and it makes sense to place it on the training. Now, let's try to do it. So I'm gonna go here to the Visualforce, and I'm gonna place here Visualforce, and you see that we don't have here any feedback thing. The thing about standard controller is that the standard controller can only be used on this as object that you define here. So it cannot be used on others. Now, what we want to do, we want to place our component on the training, right? But we don't want to have the training controller. Like that thing doesn't make sense for us. We want to have the same functionality where you create a new feedback, but we want to place it on the training. But if we do like this, we won't be able to use this here, because this here is only available on the object that you're editing, right? So here I would need to write like this stuff, right? and this is already not working. Like that's not gonna work. So how do we fix this thing? Now, this is the time for a custom controller, and it is called just controller. And for this controller, we already need Apex. Now we've been avoiding this, but now we need Apex. So now I'm gonna create probably a new page. So I'm gonna leave this page actually as it used to be, standard controller, and I'm gonna put there feedback, and you know, I actually gonna retrieve it. I'm gonna delete this one, and I'm gonna deploy this one. Now what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna call this one, create Visualforce page. I'm gonna call it feedback demo. Okay, training. Let's call it training feedback demo pages. I'm gonna just copy. I'm not gonna copy anything. I'm just gonna write from scratch. All right. So the first thing that we need is that we need our custom controller. So I'm gonna write controller, and you know, I actually am gonna copy from here form, right? Because we still need to have a form, right? Training feedback demo controller. That would be the right name for our Apex class. Before we go into the Apex class, I'm gonna change here to the feedback, right? So I'm gonna show you what it means in a second, right? So first, let's create here this Apex class, right? So this is going to be our controller, and what do you need to do in the controller? Well, the way it works is that this controller, it is getting called by the component when the component is rendering, when it's instantiated basically on the page. So what we need to do is that we need to create here variables, and those variables you would be able to access here with the same syntax that we had with this this thing here, right? So to do that, we do it usually here in this constructor, right? So first thing, I'm gonna write public feedback, and then here in the constructor we're gonna fill out the constructor. Let's say I'm gonna say feedback. I'm not gonna fill out the training, I'm not gonna fill out comment, but I'm gonna fill out the rating to 10. Let's say just by default, right? And this save, we don't need it right now. So what's happening here is that you see we have a feedback, right? This variable, and this variable we can just address it here. That's pretty much, I guess that's all we need. I don't think we need anything else. I think that's actually and I'm gonna use lightning style sheet because it just looks better. Deploy. No, yeah, of course, because first we need to deploy this one. All right, so deployed, and then we need to deploy this one, the demo. Let's see what's going on. Save. Right, you see it doesn't find save, so I'm just gonna put save. Yeah, right, because the previously save, it was from the standard controller, and now we need to implement save on our own. So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna for now yeah, one thing about this save, that it needs to be page reference. I'm gonna explain in a second. Let's just deploy for a second. Deploy, and then deploy this one. All right, so they both deployed. Let's see if we can now place it on the training here. Visualforce. Nope. And why is it so? Yeah, I know why. Again, the same problem. And we need to go to the Visualforce pages. We need to go to this training feedback, and we need to enable it here and click on save. Same problem as last time. Right now we should be able to do that. Let's see. Visualforce. Training feedback demo. All right, good. Training feedback. Let's see. All right, so we have here something, and you see the 10 here. Where is it coming from? So what just in general, what's going on there? And label. Wait, let me disable the label. I don't want to see the label actually. It's so ugly. Okay, so let's go here to this one. So what happens here is that this variable, if we fill it out on the constructor, so first the constructor is getting called on the Visualforce, right? Then we fill out this variable, and then whenever we have here address this variable, whatever is the default value inside of this variable, that's something that's going to be already displayed there. Okay, and what the thing about the save? So save, of course, whatever we're gonna fill there out, it's gonna pre-populate it, right? And then save. I know I have such trouble switching between two tabs. It's crazy. Then save is gonna insert the feedback, right? So it's gonna insert the variable that we were filling out either here in the constructor or here, and then it's gonna return null. It doesn't have to return null. It can also return a new page reference, and then we pass there the feedback ID with this slash, and that would automatically already transfer and redirect us into a separate page. This is kind of a nice thing about this. So page reference is basically, as it sounds, it's a page reference, and this functionality of returning the page reference, it's unique for Visualforce. And basically what it does, it utilizes the internal functions of Visualforce, and that works with the command buttons, right? So if we had something like a button, for example, we wouldn't be able to use it. So it works with the command buttons. Let me refresh it. Right, so we have here training. Let's just select training participant. Participant 1, rating, blah, blah, save, and it saves and redirects us here, which is super, super nice, right? So you see that Visualforce actually, in some cases, it does have benefit because it's just so like quick, right? It's so nice sometimes, but at the same time, it's a big pain if you do like one step around, it can get very ugly pretty quick. The biggest problem is basically that we are using like an outdated system, so a lot of stuff that you would want to do there sometimes doesn't work. And again, I'm gonna emphasize this so much. We're doing that only so that you have an understanding of Visualforce. Don't go and create your own Visualforce if you have some component that you need to develop, even if it's quick, because like if you can't develop something with LWC, develop it with LWC or even with Aura. Just avoid Visualforce for those types of things unless you have like a very specific requirement. All right, that's enough ranting from me. You can see that developing this controller is super easy. This is, if you go to the Salesforce documentation, they're gonna bombard you with all this MVC type of things, where you have like model view controller architecture for Visualforce. I can show you Visualforce architecture. Let's see, how is Visualforce architected? Yeah, that's what they're gonna show to you. No one cares. No one cares. You also don't need to care about those type of things. That's an ancient technology. That's the only thing that you need to know about how it works with the MVC. This is what they ask in PD1, for example, that Visualforce works as MVC with a view, controller, and model. Again, no one really cares how it's called. It's been popular, this MVC thing, and it's popular in the design systems to like to just throw fancy words, but it doesn't help you to develop new Visualforce things. Right, another thing that we actually missed here is that what if we want to have the feedback here already associated with our page, with our training, right? Because, okay, you have here the training, but it's not populated, right? It makes sense that if we are looking at the feedback here at the training, that it would be already populated. Actually, let me make it bigger. Let me make it like 500 something so that fits, everything fits there like this. For that, there's one thing. It's an interesting thing that you need to know about it. So when we have this the custom controller, you can get the ID of the record that this Visualforce sees. So remember, I told you that Apex and Visualforce are like really highly tied together. This is one of those examples. It works a little bit like voodoo thing, and you're like, wow, it works. You can get the training ID like this, training ID like this. Apex pages, current page, get parameters, get ID. That looks strange, right? It does. I don't even like go too deep into what's going on here. Just the most important. This is more or less like just they did it in this way so that you have to write it in this way. Could have been differently, yes, but this is the way you get all the parameters from the URL. So if you have a parameter in the URL, like for example, if we go back and if we go back here, right, and let's change here for a new one, training feedback, right, training feedback. Right, so we have 10 here. If I say here .get and let's say I say here ABC parameter, and then I take this ABC and I say feedback feedback dot comment would be equal to training ID, which my Copilot is going crazy right now because it doesn't understand what I mean here. It doesn't. Let's not make it to ID. Let's make it to string actually. String ABC, right? You get the point that whatever you pass here as a parameter, was it deployed? Yes, deployed. Right. So if you pass here ABC equal to blah blah blah. See, it's gonna be here in the comment. So you can basically, this way you can get whatever parameters you want from the URL. And the URL here, we don't really have a URL there, right? Because what happens is that Salesforce, whenever you place your Visualforce on the record page, it puts the ID automatically for you of the record ID. So yeah, you need to get here the record ID like this. And then you can say that training, it's going to be this training ID deploy, right? And where's that? Let's refresh it and let's see. Yep, see, Visualforce-Master. So it's already pre-populated for you basically. And again, also all these things here, how it looks like, you can always just adjust with the CSS here. So yeah, that's pretty much about the standard component, not standard plus your own custom controllers. There's thing in between, right? We used here standard components, we used here custom standard controllers, we used here custom controllers, and now there's thing in between, which is an extension. We can have here multiple extensions, and basically, when would you use it? When you wanna have both the standard functionality like this one, save, for example. If you wanna be able to use this one, plus on top of that, write your own controller stuff, then you would use it, right? In my experience, usually that's not what you want to have. Like usually in most cases, you just go for like a custom controller. You can always combine them. You can have here multiple extensions, that's fine. The only thing that this extension should have is that it should have something like this. I'm just gonna paste it here. So this one, if you're using it as extension, you need to have a standard controller, and this is where you can get all the IDs and all of this, like you can get the record out of the standard controller and all of that. Yeah, when you want to combine them, then you can use both. Then there are two more things about controllers that you need to know. There is a standard list controller, and the standard list controller you would use when you work with lists. Obviously, when you have something like a related list, for example, and you want to work with this. And then it's very rare. Like you should. I remember there were like some trailheads on it. I've been doing trailheads on that. I've been working with them in some projects. But unless you really have a specific requirement that right now you're dying to do, and you have to do it like the deadline is tomorrow, you should not like really learn specifically how to use those standard list components, controllers. Yeah, there's nothing special about them. Just the controller again works exactly in the same way as those standard controllers work. A little bit different, but like that's not the point. So yeah, basically we have standard list controller on top of this extensions and all that, and we also have standard set controller. This is similar to the standard list controller, but it is usually used for stuff like pagination, like creating multiple pages in the related list, for example, and it provides a lot of nice things for that. Another big thing that we actually did not touch on the controllers is how to test them. It's super simple because they are just normal Apex classes, right? So you do need a test coverage to deploy them. Let's create here test, right? And the first thing that I'm gonna do is that I'm gonna write not here. What's going on here? Yeah, I'm gonna write here is test, and I'm gonna delete this one, and I'm gonna write here is test. All right, so I'm gonna make it also public. Doesn't matter that much, but I'm still gonna do it. So first thing, we need a training, right? And what you do for them is that you literally do unit testing. No need for like integration test or something. And we are not testing the Visualforce itself. It's impossible. We're just testing those Apex controllers, and it's simple because you look at each method and you think, okay, what does this method do? In this case, what does this controller do? If you ignore this strange thing here, right, with the parameters in the page, the only thing that it does is basically initializing the variable on the class level with some default data, right? And the training ID this constructor gets from the page parameters. So that's exactly what we need to do. We need to go and create here. So first of all, we're gonna insert the training, right? Then we're gonna do test set current page, and then we're gonna put just the name of this page. Easy. Then another thing that we need to do is to say Apex pages current page get parameters dot put, and then we put the training ID, right? So this is what we are getting here in the controller. We are using the get method, and here in the test we're just gonna use put method, just a map. This thing is just a map. So we're putting their ID and then we're putting their training ID, and then of course we need test.start test, and we need test.stop test, right? And basically we are checking, okay, what is the current state of our class and what is the end state at the end, right? So the end state. So first of all, what are we actually calling here, right? We're testing here just the constructor. So that's exactly what we're gonna do. We're gonna say controller is equal to this one, and then at the end we're gonna say assert are equal, that the controller.feedback has the rating of 10, let's say like this, and the most important, I would not really test for this, I would rather test for the training ID, like this. Yeah, so we're testing that the training was set successfully if we put the ID there as a training ID. That's it. That's the way you test it. Like it's literally that simple. So don't overthink this. It might be a little bit more difficult if you do it with the standard, like with extensions like here, but then you just need to set the standard controller and that's it. It's also very simple. So let's run this test and let's see if that works. Passed. All right, so it worked. And I bet it had like 100% of coverage because, I don't know, 100%, this one is missing. Save, how can we test save? This one was test constructor, and another one would be testing save. Set current page, the same idea, so start test, stop test, we're gonna put out here this one, then we just say controller save. All right, so we're saving the controller, and then we need to test that the feedback was actually created. There was only one feedback. It makes sense. And I would also test the feedback was actually related maybe to the training or something. So I would get here training and like this, get 0 training. Yeah, that's pretty much it. Let's deploy this thing. Let's deploy it and let's run those two tests. Hope it's gonna be working, and yeah, 2 of them passed. Nice. Pass and pass. So you see, super easy testing the controllers, nothing too special. That's all there is about them. You might need another thing. You might need another thing though. I'm lying, it's not all you need. You might need to have the standard controller. Let me show you. Standard controller Apex test. Standard controller. Here we go. So basically you just set up a standard controller and you just pass it there. It's nothing too crazy. I'm gonna add it at the end. You're gonna have this this Notion document, and I'm gonna write all of these things there. So enough about this feedback thing. Let's build a very small search. So what I wanna now do is that I wanna show you how to combine a little bit more Apex and Visualforce, and I wanna go also a little bit deeper into the Visualforce, how you can, so I want to like scratch the surface of the iceberg to show you how you actually can go into more advanced stuff here with Visualforce. So first I'm gonna create here a new Visualforce page, and I'm gonna call it search demo, and I'm gonna have there a couple of simple things. So first of all, I'm gonna have there form, and I'm gonna have there input text, right, with a search query, and then I'm gonna have there the search. And then what I'm gonna do, let me first check that that's what I want to have. It is what I want to have, but actually we can actually simplify it, right? We can do like this. I think we can do like this. Let me try. I hope. Yep, it's fine. It's fine because now we need the controller, and I'm gonna create the Apex class, and I'm gonna call it search demo controller. And of course we're gonna have here search query, and that's pretty much it. Do we need something else here? I don't think so. But I'm gonna put their controller, search demo controller. First let me deploy this thing, deploy. deploy it. Now this one. Oh, still one thing missing. Search is missing, right? Search. Yeah, search is missing. So what I'm gonna do here is that I'm gonna have public string search, and it's gonna return search just to put there so that we can deploy those things. Right, search and deploy. So what I want to build here is that I want to build here something that would that have an input, then have a button, and it finds for you the training. So it's going to be like training search, right? So you put the ID of the training inside, and it shows you at the end the result of the training, right? So something like, let's say we have here training ID, right? And then here we're gonna be returning the training, right? Or maybe just the name of the training, not the whole training, right? So something like this. And we're not gonna do it dynamically, so we're not gonna do it with a passing the URL and ID. We're gonna do it like dynamically, so that you can type in the ID of the training there. And of course you can use it whatever you want, right? So you can it's just very simple Visualforce page to illustrate you the ideas how you can combine Apex and Visualforce there. And I'm gonna show you actually two ways to do the same thing. So we have here a lot of talking. We have here the search, and then we have the training ID, and then we have here the constructor. That looks good for me at this point. And here output text search result here, so that would be the training ID, and the result, actually, you know what would be the result? Instead of returning here, we're gonna say void, and we're gonna put the training name here like this, and I'm even gonna say this dot training name to make a point that this is actually the training name from there, and I'm gonna put there the name like this. All right, it's not necessarily best practice, but it's fine for illustrating this simple example. All right, so I have this, I'm gonna deploy it, and training name, we're gonna display training name. And by default, the training name is going to be empty. Nothing is going to be there by default. Deploy it. Nice. Let's see what we've got. Apex, and this is going to be search. Search demo. Unknown property search query. All right. What's that? What's the search query? Deploy. This one deployed as well. Search demo controller search query. I guess it was just not deployed properly. Right. So training, we're gonna put there a training, and I'm gonna put the training here, search, and it returns you something, right? It returns Visualforce-Master. The way it works is that you obviously can already see it. We have here a SOQL query, right? But the strange thing is that we are actually not passing anything into Apex, right? We're not passing there something directly into the method here, right? The only thing that we do is just setting stuff and utilizing this Visualforce thing, where if you modify something on the page, it's going to be already modified in Apex automatically, right? Because they're so highly tied together, highly bound together. That's what we're using. And you can see that this is probably not the way most components are written, right? But it does work, right? So when you think about Visualforce, even though it comes from this very old age where where nothing was that dynamic, you still can do these dynamic things, those dynamic things here. Yeah, that was the first way how you can do it. There is also another way doing that, and that way is going to be way harder, but that's going to illustrate a nice point on how to do it. And the second way is a remote action. Remote action here in Apex. Here we go. Yeah, I mean, Salesforce documentation. Not very useful. Anyway, so I'm gonna show you. But before we do that, I'm gonna here rename so that I can create search demo too, because I wanna replicate basically the same functionality. And here I'm gonna create controller too. Right. So one thing that we need to do here, I have to look at my notes. All right. So one thing that we need to do here is that we need to have remote action. And this is where you can have this type of things where you put something into the Salesforce, into Apex, and you actually search for it, right? And then, yeah, I think that would be actually, let's also, yeah, I think that would be enough. The biggest, first let me deploy this thing. The biggest thing is coming actually here in the in JavaScript, and I'm looking heavily on my notes because it's actually something that I've done a long time ago, and that's something that you would not that often do, right? So it's rare that you need this type of things, but I wanna include it still in this beginner video because I wanna show you basically to push a little bit the boundaries and like open the door into the more advanced stuff. And you can do crazy stuff with these things. So first of all, we're not gonna be using a command button here. We're gonna be using here this input thing. And the input is going to be, let's call it search field. Let's call it search field. And type text, and doesn't really matter. And let's say name is gonna be search. You see, my Copilot suggests very highly that we use the command button, but it doesn't know that that's not what we want. So we're gonna be using a button here, and now it understands that this, let's call it search results. So we have here just a normal input, a normal button, because don't forget, in Visualforce you can use just a normal HTML, CSS, JavaScript, all that. And where do you write the JavaScript? You write it here in the beginning, just within the script tags. And then here you need to have a search function. So you basically go, and you write a pure JavaScript function search. Yeah, so it's gonna be it's gonna suggest for me some stuff, right? So search field, we're getting the element by the ID. So we're defining here the ID of the element. We're getting the ID, and then I need dot value. Okay, so I only need the value from this now, and this is actually the craziest part. So first we need the controller, of course, search demo control 2, and now we're gonna call this search method just like this. We're literally gonna say controller dot search, and search is defined here, right? Search, and then we're gonna pass into this search one thing, right? The search field, but then we're gonna pass another thing. And let's call it display results. And this display results, this is what we call a callback. So basically the search, it's very similar thing to what we have with the promises in LWC, right? So we have the search, we have this Visualforce, we're calling Apex, and now I think it's better if I just illustrate it in the TL draw. All right, got it. So we have here Apex, we have here Visualforce, and we have here Apex. Now, when we are calling something from Visualforce, we call Apex. it can take a lot of time here for Apex to process this thing. So when it's gonna give us back something, we don't know when it's gonna happen. It's gonna happen here, here, where down the line it's gonna happen. So this time of waiting, it's basically like a question how long we're gonna wait. So from the perspective of Visualforce, this call is something that is happening asynchronously, right? So we are calling it, and then we're just waiting. And the callback is the function that we're gonna invoke when we're gonna get the response. This is the callback, right? So we need to specify this thing already here so that we know when the callback is coming, we know what function to invoke. Because the function that we invoked here, it's gonna be already done. It's already invoked. That's it. It does not exist. We are already past this point. So we're gonna be invoking something else. That's why we have this. That's why we have this. These promises, right? We have promises in JavaScript. We don't have promises here, but this is kind of the same idea, right? So here we have display results, and display results, it's a function, and this function gonna get again the search results. So it's gonna get this div, and then we're gonna use the inner HTML. This is stuff to basically append something. You can literally write here like own HTML, right? You can write here own HTML and then append it here within this div thing, right? And then we're gonna put the results there. Another thing that we need to do here is that we need to add here event, I think. Let's see. Let's deploy it. And I'm just gonna deploy it just to make sure that it worked, right? Let's go here. Okay, and let me find some. Here we go. That's the training. Eager test, right? Oh wait, this is search demo. We need the second one. That's the one. Eager test still works, right? So the first and the second one, they work the same, but the way we do it is totally different. And you can see that you can basically invoke here whatever JavaScript you want, and you can even go as much as just uploading another library in JavaScript that you are using. So let's say you're using some, I don't know, let's say you want to merge to PDFs or whatever, or you want to do something crazy in JavaScript. You can download, if you can, download this library and upload it as a static resource and then reference and use it somewhere here. You can even use the functions from there. So it's like, you see that one thing that I showed you here, it opens for you basically a way to create crazy things with JavaScript. And this was also one of the reasons why Visualforce was kind of outcasted and outdated. It does have certain, let's say, security issues because of that. Because you can like develop a little bit more crazy things. A lot of those things would not be available in LWC. And this is also the reason why Visualforce is still used for some use cases where you have to you need to access this type of things when you need to do something with the JavaScript. That's where you can do that. So yeah, that basically shows you two different ways how you can call something in Apex. You see this, if you can avoid all of this, avoid it. If you can use this, use this. If you can't, then you kind of forced to use this. This one. So there's a little bit more stuff on it. I'm gonna append the. It's called remoting, this thing here.
You state
this thing. Let's see. can show somewhere this nice slide, basically how it works, right? So this is remoting. That's the way. That's the way, and you can have a look at this video. It's quite cool. Again, you don't need, because look, 9 years ago, you don't need to go deep into this. You need to see it once. You need to experiment with this once. You need to know that you can do it if you need to do it, but you don't have to. You don't have to go crazy about this. All right, so we're coming into the part where I'm gonna show you how to do the PDF generation with Visualforce. This is something insanely useful. Like, there's still no real substitution for PDF generation so good and so natively as we have with Visualforce. There are a couple of considerations though. So first of all, everything that we discussed so far, it's related to just plain vanilla Visualforce. And good and bad news. With Visualforce PDF generation, you can do at the same time more and less stuff. So you can do less things in terms of you are limited to a certain engine, and this engine, it's called Flying Saucer. Where is that? Flying Saucer PDF generation, right? So this is the engine behind this Visualforce PDF generation. You can read here documentation. It's not really that useful, but so that you know that this is a way. And then if sometimes you're stuck, you can Google on how to use this thing here, and it's gonna be applicable also for your PDF generation. So the considerations that we have here, that the PDF generation with Visualforce, it's super good. Now, important, you can generate PDFs in Salesforce in other ways. You can do it with LWC, for example, but it's not going to be as cool and as native as with Visualforce. You can even use the third-party systems, right? But it's going to be probably paid. And I had, for example, one of the projects where I had to develop like 15 different certifications. So basically they were like Jewish, like kosher certification, and they were certifying foods. They were certifying food, and they had to develop a lot of different certifications, and we've been using Visualforce for that. And if they were to use some third-party system, like whatever, something that can generate those PDFs dynamically for them, they would pay at least like 5K a month for all the lights and stuff. With Visualforce, they paid, I think, like 10 or 15K as a company, and I delivered for them a lot of those PDFs very quick, like within a week or something. And that was one-time development and no recurring costs. So Visualforce PDF generation, the point is it has a lot of benefits. It's still quite a cool thing in Salesforce. And LWC doesn't have a native way of doing that, but you could do it if you wanted, but usually people do it with Visualforce. It's way quicker. So I'm gonna show you this thing because this is what I collected. When should you not use the Visualforce PDF? You can already read it, that unfortunately in Visualforce PDF generation, we only have those fonts. That's it. There's no way, and when I say no way, there's no way. It's literally impossible to have anything else than those fonts, okay? So that leads to the problem that Hebrew or Arabic or like languages that are written from right to left, or maybe Chinese, Japanese, like I did not try really with those languages, they have weird behavior sometimes. So I don't advise using that if you have those languages. With stuff like, for example, whatever, Polish, English, German, all that should work perfectly. And another consideration is that the design is important. Like if someone wants a really, really cool design, Visualforce is not for them. Especially if this design should be like dynamic, should be like super good or changing all the time. Don't do that, right? So don't do that. Multi-language support, also like non-Latin based, like for example for me would be Ukrainian. It's not really, yeah, it's a pain. So don't usually do that. With a good PDF design, there's a workaround where you can use an image, and I'm gonna show you how to do these things. Yeah, this is a workaround. There is a little bit more information. I'm gonna attach all this information. You can read it, and I'm gonna show you like more examples how to do all of this. This is one of the PDFs that we developed, right? So I'm showing you a lot of stuff because first before we like actually write code, I want to just show and in general emphasize how it all works in general before you even start, right? So we're gonna dive into all of this, but basically what we had there is that we needed to generate an invoice, and the invoice should have a lot of table like rows, and those rows you should transfer them to the different pages. So you have like an invoice, and then it has footer, it has header, and those footers and headers, they are always the same on all the pages. And then you have the table that sometimes is only one page, sometimes multiple pages. You always you don't know, right? So all of these things, they're all possible to do with the Visualforce. And I'm not gonna show you all of this, otherwise I'm gonna be sitting here for many hours. But I'm gonna show you the most important things. First, as always, what are we gonna be developing here in Visualforce? We're gonna be developing the training certificate. So each participant that we have here, they need to have here a certificate, right? So that's what we're gonna develop. But for now, I'm just gonna be using this one, right? So let me create a new Apex class, and it's not typing. Training certificate demo. Right, training certificate demo. And what do we need here? So we need to display something about the participant, and I would say what do we want to display? So we want to display there a couple of things. Want to display their training name, start date, end date, yes. We want to display their maybe something like a topic, and trainer's name and signature, right? So let's actually just do the end date. It doesn't matter when was the start date, just matters when you received the thing, right? All right, so this is what we need to deploy there. Let's see. I'm sure my Copilot's just should be able to do it very quick. Hey, come on, Copilot, don't want to type all of this. Oh my god, training name, yes, exactly. Oh my god. And of course we're gonna get ID, we're gonna get the training ID, right? So and for that we're gonna need to query the training, and let's see, so that's gonna be training ID, training name, end date, signature. Yeah, the signature, that's gonna be just, where's that training signature? So the signature, this is just an image, okay? So that's not gonna be a field that we want to display. All right, so this is what we want to display here, and training. So we're gonna get the training. Yeah, maybe important that here as an ID, we're actually gonna get participant ID, right? So this is participant ID, and knowing this participant ID, we have to query the training. How do we do it? No, that's participant ID. That's the participant ID. And then so we know the participant ID, so we need to query the participant, right? We need to query the participant. Yeah, so wait, we need to query all of this from the participant. Like, what the hell? Not from the training. Sorry, it's been for me a long day of a lot of recording. So what do we need to do here? We need to query here that basically training underscore r dot name, and then training underscore r and date. Topic, we don't care about topic. Trainer, name of the trainer, the signature does not exist, signature thing. Do we have everything here? Training. No, we don't have a topic. Come on, we don't have a topic. Did I write here topic? I don't care about topic. Why would we care about topic? Wait a second. So yeah, my brain refuses now to code anymore. Alright, so we have the participant ID, we're querying the participant, we're getting the training name, the end date, and the name of the trainer, yes. And then we're getting the name of the participant itself, and that's what we need to do. Public string participant name, and we're gonna add the participant name here as well. And participant name we're already querying. Come on, don't be silly. I'm gonna just remove the signature from here so that doesn't confuse the copilot. Alright, so we have the name. Looks like we have everything that we need. Do we, or copilot suggest something else? That looks good. Looks good. Let's try it out. So there's the controller. Deploy. And then what's going on here? And date. Yeah, I have a weird way of writing in my org like this. What else? Trainer does not exist. Alright, let's check. Is it trainer does not exist? It should be trainer. Ah, of course. Yes, it makes sense because the trainer. No. Wait, trainer.name. That should be right. Yeah, date time. Good point. Why does it say that the trainer does not exist if it's a contact and it does okay. Trainer dot last name and trainer dot first name, and then here we're just gonna put them together. Let's try like this. What's going on? What do you want? What do you mean does not exist? Wait, what? How does not exist? Training, and then we have a trainer there. Yeah, we do have a trainer. Yeah, of course. Yeah, it's on the training. Oh my god. It's on the training. So we need to say that training r, yeah, training underscore r, and the same is gonna go here. Please let me already deploy it. Finally. Oh my god. It took so long for such a trivial thing. Anyway, so participant, actually it should be called participant certificate demo. Participant certificate demo controller. Here in Apex we should have called it controller. That's a little bit my mistake. Let's just create a new Apex class and participant certificate demo controller. Let's name it like this, and let's take everything out from here, and I'll just move it here and change the control name. My mistake on this one. So I'm gonna deploy this one. Let's see if that's gonna deploy. Perfect. and training certificate demo. I'm just gonna delete from project and from org. All right, perfect. Now I'm more happy about this. All right, so that was a long way. First, let's write here something. Hi, this is PDF. And to make a page available or to render it as a PDF, we need to actually literally say here render as PDF. And the first thing, we also need to do the controller here, controller like this, and we're gonna deploy it. And I'm gonna go here and I'm gonna take this name here, this certificate demo, and list has no rows. All right. Yeah, makes sense. Makes sense because we're not passing here any ID. So let's pass there an ID of. We need to pass a participant ID. So let's find one. This one participant, for example. Why not? So let's find this one. Let's put it here. And here we go. Now it works as a PDF. Right? So you can see that it already it's already automatically rendering as a PDF. Now we can modify a lot of things that's happening here, but not that many. We are quite limited here. So here we're using this, as I said, this flying saucer engine, and whatever this engine allows us to do, and the engine was developed, I think, 20 years ago, something like this. So, and since that, it was not really that much updated. So whatever you could do back then, you can do right now here. Most importantly, if you want to style your PDF here, the best way to do it is to have here a head, then to have their style, right? And then in this style, there are a couple of things that we want to do. I'm gonna just copy it here, and then you can find it because I don't want to go too deep into those type of things. So I'm gonna be using here background image, and this is a big life hack because you can see that this is, first of all, it's just white page, of course, and if you need to do it very good styling, it's gonna be insanely hard. You can try just for fun, basically, to go and develop a PDF that looks good, but it's gonna be hard, especially because you're so limited in what you can do with this engine. So the best practice approach for developing PDFs is to offload as much design as possible into the image. And image, it can be designed in any way you want, right? So you can basically do heavy design lifting in the image and then just upload this image as a background image. And this is the best way. Like, from all my experience with generating, and like maybe I've done maybe at least 20 different projects with Visualforce PDF generation. It's literally the best way. You just need to make sure that your design is fitting right into the PDF, and that's just the best way, right? So the only thing that you need to do here is that you need to put page, right, with this, it's called media annotation, and there as a background image, you upload as a static resource, you upload your image. You say no repeat. It means that if your image is bigger or smaller, it's not gonna like repeat multiple times on the same page. Position, you just center it, and you try and you make it the full size. And what I found is that you can, with these important things here, you can force the PDF engine to enforce this tag and override whatever is the default way of writing them. And then here the size, this is size landscape. This is basically for us to flip hi. I'm gonna write here hi. I'm gonna click deploy, and actually let me actually put here participant certificate and training name and date, trainer name, participant name. Yeah, let's deploy all this. All right, it's deployed. Let's go here. All right, you can see how ugly it is. All right, now you see that it doesn't really work, right? We don't have here a background image, and there's a reason behind it. And this reason is that you need to add more stuff here. So first thing that you need to add here is that show header false and apply body tag. What's going on here? Sidebar. Sidebar false. We can also do sidebar. Apply body. No, apply. Oh my god! Come on, apply body tag. That's what we need. Apply body tag false. So what this, by default, if you don't set it to false, it's true. What it does is that it applies the body tag to your whole Visualforce, right? It's nice thing, but now we have head here, right? Because we want to have a style. So you want to avoid this automatic body thing. Let's see, that should already work. Deploy. Now it works, right? You can see I pre-uploaded here the certification background. You can go to Canva, you can develop your own background, and you can see that the signatures here, they are uploaded as images. And this is again the best practice. This is the life hack that I learned. Put as much as you can into the image, into the background image. You can do nice things as a background image, and only the dynamic parts that you need, make it in those type of things like we have here, right? Don't make them don't try to make them dynamic and style them beautifully. Just don't. All right, so we have this. Another thing that you can do if you need something dynamic, like let's say you want to make this signature here dynamic, what you can do is that you can have here another image, upload it as a static resource, and then you can just use it as this one here, and you can just arrange it to the right place in your in your page, and that's going to be kind of dynamic, right? So you can basically, what you can do is that you can dynamically create different signatures and then upload them dynamically there. Yes, it is pain. I know. I know it is pain, but that's how it works, right? So now what you need to do, and I'm not gonna style all of this because I don't want to turn it into the CSS thing. I want to show you a couple of things how you can better style stuff. So first of all, with the end date, and I would probably just make all of this just div, not h2 or something. I'm just gonna make it div because I would rather prefer styling them separately. All right, so now they're just normal. What you can do here is that say, okay, this is going to be class. It's going to be a class container, and then you can try to do the container. Like you can try to align the container here within this. This is usually how you style this PDF thing. It doesn't do anything, right? Why? Because this is modern CSS, and modern CSS here is not what it want to see. What I want to see here is something like padding, let's say padding top, and usually the way I style those things is with centimeter. So I would say something like let's say 6 centimeter, whatever, something like this. Deploy, and yeah, and now it's going there. So yeah, that's usually how it works. Let me modify here this thing so that it's only the last name. You see that I'm doing here with a centimeter slowly, right? But what another thing is that here it is a little bit ugly here, right? So you wanna style it usually a little bit better, and the way you do it is here in this case with the output, with the apex output text, and then here, and this is something that I googled. I don't know this from just my head, but I know, let me just put it here. That's how you can make the date in the right format, right? So you write here basically the syntax, how it should be, and then as a parameter you pass the field that you want to have. What does it complain about? Training, it doesn't know training. Training, it should be training start date or something. Training and date, start date, just end date like this, and here, or let's call it more fancy, date of completion. Deploy. Yeah, see, it was now formatted like this. And then let's say you want to have this one, training, let's say training, this one, training name, right? So the training name is something that you want to highlight. So you have here a div that you want to highlight. You would put their class, and you would say like something like, let's say training name, and then you would style this class training name to be like this, and then you can do it with padding or with margin, and you can say padding top. Actually, we don't need this one because we have it already in the image. Padding top we don't need it, but we need something like padding left, and I'm gonna say, let's say 2 centimeters, and font size, padding right. Let's see. Of course, you can go and style as you want. Here we go, pretty much on point. And then I'm gonna say, okay, can we do it like for something like this. Font, I think you can do the font oh wait, I already have font size. Oh my god, what am I doing? Let's say 48 pixels. Here we go. Right, so you can see this way you can combine basically the beauty of the background image and the Visualforce thing. That's pretty much how you do it. So don't spend a lot of time on it. I'm not going to go and like style specifically too much, because why would you need to style it? Like, again, you need to see those things, but don't go too deep into this. And then if you have a concrete implementation, then you go and modify them. Now, in most cases, when you do the Visualforce, what you also want to do is that your Visualforce is dynamically created, the PDF itself, as a PDF, and either attached to the record as a related list, so you can see it on the record page, or maybe you even want to send it as an email attachment or something like this. The point is that you want to render your PDF dynamically from Apex, and that's the best thing about Visualforce. It's super easy to do in Visualforce. So I'm gonna create here a new Apex class. I'm gonna say something like render PDF demo, and here just gonna create public. It's gonna be a void method, render PDFs. The most important thing that you need to do is to create here a void. Yeah, let's do it void. Let's do it void, and let's say it's just gonna be a script. I'm not gonna write the whole thing, but that's gonna be just a script for us that we're gonna attach to the participant, and you pass here participant ID, render PDF ID, participant ID, right? Because that's what we need here for our participant certificate, right? Let's see, where's the controller? In the controller we expect here the participant ID, right? So we're gonna be passing there the participant ID, and we're just gonna call this as a script. Of course, later you can just put it whatever you want to the invocable method, to whenever you want, if you have already the method. So the way, and I'm on purpose, I'm not gonna go very deep into those type of things, because this is a different topic. It has not so much to do with Visualforce. Basically, usually the way those attachments work is that you have there two things. You have content version, and what was the other thing? Actually, just content version would be enough for us. I think there's another thing that which is called something like publish or something. There are different ways of doing this. Another way is creating attachments to the files, and this is something that you shouldn't do. So the modern way of doing the attachments now in Salesforce, in Apex, is using the content versions. So first thing, what you do, you have here the page reference, right? Now into this PDF, I'm gonna call it PDF page. From the PDF, I'm gonna call it certificate page. Into this certificate page, we put ID and participant ID, right? Because that's the way we have it, right? Now, then what we need to do is we need to put there the content. So we need to get the content. So we need to say that blob get content, like this. That's nice. Copilot already does everything for us. So what's happening here? We have the PDF. We have the PDF blob, and we are basically getting the content of the PDF with this get content method. It's that easy, right? There's get content. Now, important note on this one: it doesn't work in tests. When you're gonna be testing this, what you're gonna have to do is you're gonna have to do something like PDF blob, and then say if this is a running test, then you do something like this. Otherwise, you do this thing. With the test is running test, this is the only place where it is justified to use this thing here, right? It is specifically made for, not exactly for this case, but yeah, this is basically when you have tests and when you wanna have a different behavior for your code in tests or in production, then you need to use this is test, right? Which is in itself is not a good thing to have, because you're writing test exactly with the idea, with the purpose to test the stuff that you're putting out in production, right? So this test is running test is literally the last thing that you want to do. But this thing in this place, this is where you need to have it, because this get content, it's not supported in tests, okay? Then this content version, you can read. I'm gonna leave few articles about this content version, but this is basically just as file. You can imagine it as a file. Location Salesforce, yes. Path on client is basically just a name. Title, that's gonna be the title of the document, and the version data, that's actually the stuff that we have there. And then one thing that we need to add here is content version. First public location, and then we need to put the participant ID. That's gonna make the link between the file itself and the content version. Okay, so I'm gonna deploy this thing. Let's see, it's gonna work. All right, and scripts, Apex. Hello, Apex. Let's rename it to something more appealing, like something like creating certs. Right, so we have demo, and we're gonna call the render PDF, but we need to grab an ID of the participant. This one's gonna do it. This one is gonna do that. Well, let's see if that's gonna work. Any errors? I don't see any errors, right? Maybe it's gonna work. Let's see. So here we need to add related list. Related list, single, and should be files. Here we go. I can see there something. All right. So you can see that it merges all the files, right? So this is the thing that we had here with the Visualforce-Master. And yeah, it's not the most beautiful. I agree. It's not the most beautiful PDF, but that's what we had there. And for this, it merges them already automatically, right? So you can see, then you can of course, I'm not gonna go too deep into this, because you can see as soon as you have here something in Apex, you can just edit whenever you want. Can be whatever call you have. This is how you can do it in basically like one go. This is kind of a little bit of a life hack, so save this this into, I don't know, your knowledge base or where you're saving stuff, because this is something that you would need if you want to do it in one go. I want you to try to just experiment around those things and maybe build a couple of different Visualforce pages. But Visualforce is not so important, and what we just covered is literally everything you need to know to code Visualforce properly in 2024. Like as a junior developer, or even as a middle developer, or like developer who is working as a junior moving to the middle developer, you should not go deeper than what we discussed right now, in my opinion. Of course, it depends on the what kind of project you have, and later in the career when you're gonna be doing more projects, if you're gonna be moving from junior to be like middle developer, or past this to senior, then of course you will be expected to understand all of this and be able to do whatever needed with Visualforce, right? So, but maybe you can avoid it. Maybe you can avoid it. Maybe you're gonna be lucky and you're not gonna have to work with old systems, or you're not gonna get projects in this realm. It's also possible. The point is, don't overthink Visualforce. Always learn Visualforce only when you actually need it, not in advance. If you understand everything that we discussed in this video, you are good to go. If you can repeat what I wrote, you're good to go. Okay, don't overthink it. Rather, if you want to go deeper on LWC, not on Visualforce. That's all you need at this point.